We're on the phone with Desyn Massiello, currently in the UK, but about to make your way across the pond to North America for a tour. Where are you off to, and what are you looking forward to?
I believe I'm doing a 6 or 7 day US tour over December. Let me have a look. I'm just pulling up the diary here. I think the first date is going to be in Washington on the 9th of December on the Friday. Second date is in New York City, in Bed. I'm really looking forward to that. I've heard that's a really good spot. And then following weekend, I'll be going to San Fran, Kink in LA, and Shine in Miami. So looking forward to those dates a lot.
The next series of Balance has just been released today, actually, and you had the pleasure to mix number 8. Was it a challenge?
It wasn't really that much of a challenge as such, because I tried not to make it a challenge in my head purposely, because I didn't want to feel any pressures. I really wanted the album to have a very natural flow to it, and a natural feel. So I didn't really let my mind ponder on it too much, because I've had some experience in the past of doing compilations, and they were probably a bit of a learning experience. The last one I did, I kind of did put myself under quite a lot of pressure, but it was all stuff I made up in my own head. It didn't really exist. So this time I just really went in with a completely open mind. Just chose like 80 or so of my favourite records and gave them to the Balance guys to clear. And they went off and they licensed them all, and they gave me a list back of the ones I could use, which was most of them, luckily. And one evening I just sat down and I did the CDs one after the other, as if I was DJing in the club. So without really any thought over planning it, and what if I never, for instance, said I definitely want to put this track in or definitely want to put this track in. I didn't want to do anything that would perhaps put a blockage in a natural flow like I would in a club. So that's how the album kind of worked out. I actually tried to think about how to do the album for 2 months before, and I wrote tracks that went together with other tracks, and I ended up with just like sheets of paper which didn't really make any sense and no kind of overall direction. So I kind of just threw away all those plans, and then on just the one evening before the deadline, just did the CD one after the other. The only thought I really put into it was how I want each CD to open up with, or which track I want to open, and from then on, it was just instinctual kind of what track do I want to put on next. So the album really does have a very kind of natural energy to it, which is how I wanted it to sound.
So why did you open with Orbital for the second CD?
Because it's just such a beautiful record, and it's a classic track as well, and a lot of people are only just getting into dance music. You know, you have new people coming into it all the time, new generations, and a lot of people wouldn't have heard that track, and I just think it's nice to put a little bit of history into things as well, instead of always putting new music out there all the time, you know. DJing is just about playing music that makes people feel good. So, in my eyes, my scope of music that I could have put on the album went back as far as the early 90s, which is where the Orbital track came from.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, that was years before I started. I didn't even get into it till about early 2000 myself. So, but that's one of my favorite tracks all time. So, I mean, that one, I pop up the CD and, that one's going on first. So, I have a little bit of a bias towards the second CD. So,
Cool.
Have you had any feedback so far on the release? I know it's just officially coming out today, but promos and so on have been floating around for a little while.
Yeah, I've had mostly positive feedback on the album, really positive. People really like it. Some people really, really have got into it, and they really love it. A couple of people don't like it also, so it's just the way it works, you know. But I'm really happy with the result of the album and how it turned out, and the kind of process I went through to actually do it. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it.
Now, do you have any new productions yourself coming through in the next little while?
I've actually just started assembling a studio at home, so I can pull my finger out my arse and actually get some music done, because I've probably spent the last 15 years looking for records like a real avid music collector and a vinyl addict, and I haven't really given much else, much attention and much time. So I think I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more productions over the next 12, 18 months. Probably working more in a collective of people than doing stuff on my own, because that's where I see kind of me working in the future. I'd much rather put my ideas together with other people that have similar musical direction with me and do something as a collective. I think what a group of people can do, it can be, something a lot more than what one person can do. So that's kind of where I'm going to be going over the next 12 to 18 months as well, working with some very close friends and producers in the studio a lot, namely Omid 16B, who is really well known. He's had a couple of albums out already, solo artist albums. I'll be working with him a lot more in the future. And Rowan Blades, who used to be in Breeder, which was like Sasha's favourite progressive band a few years ago. And we're gonna just work together and try and produce music together. So that's kind of where it's heading.
Now, if you had the chance to work with anyone in particular, who would it be? Just a random person, not random, but maybe your
probably someone from someone that's an idol to me. Probably one of the members from Led Zeppelin or something. Probably John Bonham, but he's just the most unbelievable drummer ever. But he's dead actually, so he might be quite hard. If we can resurrect him, then I'd love to work with him. That
and the fact that live drums are kind of hard to work into a mix, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Production-wise, you said you're looking to just get back into it. Now, do you have any formal classical training or so? Or is it all just sort of what you've picked up on the way?
Actually, no. I mean, music-wise, I just when I DJ, I go with my ear and my natural feel. But instrument-wise, I'm actually learning 2 instruments at the moment, full-time, which is piano and guitar. Because I see if you want to be able to put your ideas out and express yourself properly in the studio, you really need to be able to play instruments. Some of my favourite music, which is actually touched on in the Balance album on CD1, was some of the 80s music, which was always quite minimal, but the melodies and the sounds were so strong. That kind of music really had a big effect on me. And it was very harmonic and very melodic as well. So for me to want to move forward in production is a very important thing to learn instruments, which is what I'm doing now, because I don't just want to sit in a studio and be able to just share opinions. I want to be able to actually put some creativity into the music making as well. So that's a good point. That's exactly what I'm doing at the moment.
You were brought into the acid house scene just as it was beginning to explode in the UK. How different is it today, just the entire electronic dance scene compared to back then?
Actually, in some places it's not that different. I'm fortunate enough to play a lot of different countries all around the world, and some countries, dance music's only just been starting the past, 2 to 5 years. So those places where you go and play, like a lot of places in Eastern Europe, they have this feel like it's a new thing and it's just started and it's kind of revolutionary. So yeah, I mean, some places it's still got that vibe. The UK has kind of gone round in a big circle. It got to a point, because we started in '88 really strong with a lot of outdoor parties and a lot of illegal parties, and it grew to such a point in around 2000 where it all just became about money and it just got a bit too much. And then the scene went really down and the interest went down. But now I'm seeing a really good underground scene in the UK, definitely all around Europe as well. The scene is as strong as ever, if not stronger, worldwide as far as I see it. And especially places like Asia, it's extremely strong. Like my favourite place to play is Tokyo. I'm playing now New Year's Eve, and the club is just incredible. It's like something out of Blade Runner, and all the people that go there, they come in dancing and screaming to the warm-up records. And like I play a lot of places around the world, and no one really does that. People come, and like in the UK, people are quite timid, and they stand around the outside of the dance floor, and they won't go into the middle of the dance floor for the first hour or two, at least, till it starts really filling up. In Japan, like, they just run into the middle. The first people that are there, they're jumping up and down to everything. They have this like energy and love for the music that's I haven't seen in many places. And that kind of vibe is just amazing. It's amazing to go and play places like that.
Yeah, I was talking to Pete of Rank 1 over the weekend, and he said Tokyo especially was quite an interesting crowd because it's like, put your hands in the air and everybody does it. And they're just ready to go. So
they are crazy, most definitely. Yeah.
They are crazy. There's a statement right there.
In a good way.
I think I need to take a tour myself.
Yeah,
so, you had mentioned some places are just starting to boom. What do you see as the next upcoming style of music really breaking through? I mean, you did see, as I mentioned, Acid House sort of started the push of the movement. There's been recycled trance hit its peak at about 99.
Yeah.
We've seen a bit of house growth, progressive growth over the last year. I mean, last year was the year of like progressive rock feel. What do you see coming up?
Well, trance seems to be the hugest sound, and I don't see that disappearing, to be honest, because it's generally a lot of young people that really like that music, and it's kind of the first music people get into, and then later on they kind of move on to other types of dance music. Well, I think it's such a strong sound, the trance sound. I think that's probably going to be the most popular sound to come, but from an underground point, I think the minimal sound is what's really taking over. As far as the market is concerned at the moment, there is a lot more minimal records being sold than any other type of dance music. They're just selling so much music, and there's so much interest in the minimal sound. And I think it's more about that kind of music is more about the space in between the sounds. Minimal is more spread out and more simplified in structure, and so it kind of gives your mind time to think while the music's going, and think in between the spaces in the sounds. Whereas there's so much sounds going on with other types of music that it kind of just bombards you too much sometimes. And minimal is all about, I think, the space in between the sounds and your mind filling in that space with its imagination. And I think that's a very kind of creative side to dance music at the moment. What's happening in minimal is very artistic. A lot of the stuff that's happening in minimal music at the moment, especially a lot of stuff that's coming out of Germany. And I think that's going to be an area that's becoming bigger and bigger in the future as well, definitely.
And my last question would be, what would you say is the biggest problem in the club scene today?
The biggest problem in the club scene today is probably there's not enough clubs, and there's not enough people going to clubs, because it's to me it's a core part of our society and the new generation, about getting people together and celebrating and interacting through the love of music. And I think music can really open your mind as well. Certain types of music, and house music especially, there's a kind of meaning behind it. And I think the biggest problem today is there's not enough people really pushing it. And maybe we can make it bigger over the next few years, which is especially what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to bring the best music to the people. I kind of see myself as a filter. I listen to literally every single record out there that's released all the time, and try to find the best music, because I think if you can present the best music to the people in a certain way, there's a meaning behind it, and that's what I'll try and continue doing, I guess.
Or you have a new website coming out, MP3 releases. Tell us about this and where we can take a look.
Yeah, there's a new website I'm involved in. It's called www.magneticgrooves.com. It's an MP3 retail site selling dance music MP3s. And the aim of the site is to provide people customers with the best music out there as quick as possible. So the site is designed and run by 5 DJs, and we filter the music out there and try and present the best music to people in a single site. I mean, the basic problem with DJs got is finding the best music out there, and there's so much being released all the time now, especially with the digital market as well. There's so much more music to listen to. So we're just trying to add a bit of a filter on there using our own expertise and trying to present the best music to people. So it's an MP3 site basically designed and run by DJs.
Now my question is, how do you... a lot of people have problems. Oh, you're downloading songs illegally. You don't have the rights to play that. A lot of people are getting these songs online through friends or through illegal websites or sharing programs that are definitely not a positive thing on the scene. How do you you present an option to someone who goes onto your website, buys them, and then goes out to play, and someone just says, no, you play CDs, you obviously got that illegally, I'm not going to listen to you. How do you get around that? I mean, nowadays, almost everybody has played CDs, and many more are switching to that from vinyl, but do you see a way where you can almost a license and have a way to show proof of purchase?
I don't really know. There is technological ways of doing it, but nobody's actually doing it out there at the moment. Nobody's putting any systems or laws in place where you have to, pay to play stuff in clubs that maybe you haven't purchased. But I don't think it really matters. I think people that want to pirate will always pirate, and they'll work out a way of pirating. The fact is that there are so many new legal ways of buying music through the internet now, and anyone that's serious and loves their music will probably go to those legal sources because you're always guaranteed better sound quality. Morally, it's right, and many people want to do that. They want to support the music industry. I think there's enough people out there now, and the internet's made it so much easier to access. It's opened up the pathways to buying music so much more. So I think we're probably in a better position in the future than we've ever been in the music industry. So I don't think there's too much to worry about the people pirating stuff at all.
Well, thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
Do you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, I think we've done it all, mate. Hey, this is Desyn Massiello, and you're listening to DJ Amp on Amplified Radio.